So I'm just telling you, look at the reality of your situation. And when you see a defect, if you see a deficiency, if you see a problem, if there's a sin that you need to get rid of, open up, confess it. And you have no idea how amazing the impact could be. From New Life Ministries, this is Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn. I'm Stephen Arterburn. And Going Deeper is all about taking the tough issues, the hard issues of life, looking a little bit deeper inside so that we can gain some insight into our lives. Hi, Steve Arterburn here, and welcome to Going Deeper with Steve Arterburn, who's me. And really glad you're with us here today. Love getting to do this. And if you haven't been here before, or you missed a couple of days, we're doing a series on the 7 keys to spiritual renewal, or the 7 keys to transformation. Now, the first one, of course, is to search for truth, to seek after God, and finally surrender to Him. That's number one. Second thing is, once we have surrendered to God, we've got to see, we've got to surrender, and then we've got to see what it is that we are dealing with. A lot of times, you might think, this is kind of trite, but you surrender. You say, I can't figure this out, God. You can. I'm going to let you. And then you surrender, but you think the problem is the person you're married to. But when you start to see the reality of the problem from a different perspective, you realize, no, it's absolutely me. So we want to be able to accept what it is that we've got to deal with. And then we come to today. Number 3 is we literally want to, for the first time maybe ever, open up about this problem. So we want to say it, or this is confession. So we surrender. We say, my path hasn't worked. Now, look at what I see. I've done an inventory. I'm aware of it. Now I need to talk to somebody. I need to say it out loud. And, we need to say it because the Bible tells us to. Anybody that says, well, all I need is my Bible and God, you're not reading the Bible. James 5:16 says, confess your sins one to another, pray for each other that you might be healed, because the prayers of a righteous person avail much. So we want to do that. Now, if we get in the process of confessing, then we're going to hear our own story. We're going to say it out loud, and so we're going to hear it. It's going to kind of crystallize it. It's going to solidify it. And then it also, when we're in a group, let's say, and we open up about our problem, it does something for the people that hear us open up. I was just in Pennsylvania this past weekend, and I said on the stage that the most regretful thing I had ever done was pressure a woman to have an abortion. And I talked about that a little bit. Well, a guy comes up afterwards, he's in tears. He says, when you said that from the stage, I now have the courage to go and talk to somebody about the problem I've been dealing with. So you do have an impact when you start to talk about things. And then, when we start to talk about things and open up about things, then if we're open to input from other people, we get insight that we never would have had. Now, why don't we just want to jump out there and talk to somebody about things? Well, we're afraid. And I think some people, their fear is founded because your church is not safe. I know a couple. She was working in music, and he was one of the pastors. And he confessed that he had been involved with pornography. Not another woman, but pornography. Now you got over 60% of the people dealing with pornography. They fired him and they fired her. If I had that to do over again, I would have said, I don't think you ought to tell these people. So we got to know that it's safe. Maybe you tell them at another time. So we hear our own story, we benefit other people, and fear will prevent all of that from happening. And, maybe we don't want to open up about it because, when once somebody knows, then we really now are accountable. I'll tell you, when I made a big transition in my life, I said to the people around me, and this was the real deal, I had been to the bottom. I said, if you hear me do this, or talk about this in this way, if you see me do these things, you will know that I did not stay on the course and you should not trust me. Well, once you tell somebody that, pretty exciting, because you're now, you've got a standard to live up to that everybody knows about. They know your secret and they know what you're doing about it. But here's the thing. You want to do it with somebody that you can trust, that you know is going to be absolutely, positively confidential. Now, I've made a commitment that Dave Stoop would know everything that's going on with me. And I've talked to somebody about everything. And that just helps me to be free. And every person that I've talked to has been a safe person. And no one's ever broken confidentiality. Now, I'll tell you something. Not everybody, I didn't go to some people, and I'm glad I didn't, because their reaction to things proved that they were not safe. When my previous wife had an affair and divorced me, one of the people that I thought was a really good friend said, anybody ought to be able to keep their marriage together. Boom. Pretty tough to hear that. Because I have to tell you, I would imagine that I worked harder on that than most people ever work on their marriage. I was kinder, gentler, all those things, more so than men that never get a divorce. Oh my goodness, what a horrible judgment that was. The fact is, some really crummy people are married doing crummy things and they'll never get a divorce because the other person's tolerant. And then, you know, there's some other people that are doing the best they can, and kids are going to go astray and the marriage is going to fall apart. All sorts of things can happen there. So it's really, really important that we not go to somebody that isn't safe. We need a safe person to open up to. Now, I was doing a conference one time, and a little lady, 83 years old, came up to me. She said, I have to tell you something I've never told any other person. I said, all right. She said, I've been ashamed of this all of my life. All right. And so she said that when she got married, she was pregnant with their first son. Now that's about 60 years ago. So that's pretty wild when it happens like that, and you are carrying that around with you. And I'm just, you know, I was so proud of her back then for not getting an abortion, for bringing that baby into the world. And so she had, you know, in my mind, hey, it wasn't great that she had sex before marriage, but compared to abortion, you know, it just, my thing was it could be so much worse. When you open up somebody, when you confess, you get a different perspective. I remember the guy that confessed to me how angry he was that his mother wanted back into his life. And he was furious at her because when he was a little baby, she had left him on the doorstep of the people next door and gone off, and he hadn't heard from her in years, decades. And now he had just gotten a call that she wanted to be part of his life. I said to him, see, he opened up to me. And I said to him, I want you to do something that's going to be very difficult for you to do. I want you to go back, get on the phone, and ask her about her childhood. Ask her how her parents treated her. So he did. He comes back, he is weeping. He said, my mother had some big, her mother had emotional problems, and she was schizophrenic. And her mother literally handed her off to the next door neighbor before she, in one of these horrible episodes, feared that she would kill the baby. And, you know, you hear stories of really emotionally sick people, disordered people, driving over a bridge with all the kids strapped in the car and everybody dies. She went on to say that when his mother, had some of the things start to well up in her that she had heard her mother had, she did exactly what her mother had done to save her baby boy. And she just took him next door and left. I said, wow. So you're angry at her all these years, but she saved your life. She was actually a hero. Rather than hurt you, she helped you by separating from you because she couldn't predict what she was going to do. They had a wonderful reunion, but would that have ever happened if he hadn't opened up? Absolutely not. So I'm just telling you, look at the reality of your situation. And when you see a defect, if you see a deficiency, if you see a problem, if there's a sin that you need to get rid of, open up, confess it. And you have no idea how amazing the impact could be. Thanks for joining me. If you need some help, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's the phone number. And all of these keys are in the wonderful Spiritual Renewal Bible. Spiritual Renewal Bible, won Bible of the Year. So just call, get a copy of that. I think it's going to help you. Until next time, Steve Arterburn here, and join me again. We'll go deeper again, right here. Thank you for joining me for Going Deeper. I hope something I've said may have helped just a little bit. If you have a question you'd like me to answer or comment, just email me at stevesocial@newlife.com. I'll see you next time.
If you want to support Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn, be sure to subscribe so you never miss another episode. And if you know someone who would benefit from this episode, be sure to share it with them. See you on the next Going Deeper with Stephen Arterburn from New Life Ministries.